All right, so happy Monday, fam. Well, I figured since I'm pulling up to a train and I'm going to be sitting for a little while, we might as well connect and talk about something that's really important to me today. So, I'm Dr. Damien, your Chief Wellness Warrior. I provide holistic training and support to help you elevate your inner peace and your profits. Now, that is what I do. That is what I have created for myself in this space. And when people ask me, "Oh, aren't you a physical therapist?" The answer is yes. But here's the reality and the truth of it. For me, I have a love-hate relationship with physical therapy, and particularly with being a physical therapist. Um, and so let's talk about it. I think it helps to understand really where I'm coming from and why I do and say the things that I do. First, I hope that you guys aren't sitting after a train, and if you are, welcome. This one seems to be taking its time, but I'm where I'm supposed to be right now. I hope, and I know the same for you. So I've been a physical therapist. Let's back up a little bit. Um, I'm a graduate of Langston University with a bachelor's degree in biology and my doctorate degree in physical therapy. Now, Langston, shout out to LU. They Langston has the first doctor of physical therapy program in the state, and dare I say, the best one, because there is a personal, hands-on, um, right there with you approach to how we have the opportunity at Langston University to really understand the personal nuances of what physical therapy means. I can tell you that when you look at programs, Langston takes 14 students per class. So every year they start a new class with 14 students. And other programs, there are two other programs in the state, and they take um, their student classes are anywhere from 40 to 80, which for me as a person working with people face to face, spending an hour or more with them on a daily basis, I like the opportunity to really get to do deep dives on that personal level with a smaller group. So there's that. That's just a little bit of background about a big part of why I do things the way that I do. So let me tell you about why I hate physical therapy. Um, and if you're a PT and OT, or you spend enough time working with us in that space, PTAs, CODAs, you might actually relate to some of the struggles that I have with it. And if you do, listen, leave me some comments. Let's talk about it. Um, but the reality is, I'm gonna talk straight to it. The return on the investment of going to PT school is not what it used to be, and it's also um, it's kicking our ass, man. It is kick. Listen, for a program that is on a doctorate level, it easily can cost over 100 to $150,000 in a program to get your physical therapy degree. That's before your license, before you can practice. That's just to get into the field, to break into the field. Yes, we appreciate having a doctorate level education, and I can tell you I put mine to good use. But but for a degree program that costs anywhere between 100 and actually $200,000, because if you are out of state, if you're going to an out of state program, then it could easily cost you over 150 to $200,000, as some of my mentees have talked about. Then coming into a profession that says your base salary and your starting salary entry level is like 65,000. Yeah, boss, that the math ain't mathing, as they say. And that has continually gotten worse over the past couple of years. I've been a physical therapist for 14 years, and I can tell you, student loans for me was heavy and still is heavy, if I'm being honest. And so I couldn't imagine what these current students are going through. And for people who have been in the profession for 15, 20 years, and they have their bachelor's degree or their master's degree as an entry level, they don't understand that. And so when we talk to them about how expensive it actually is and how taxing it is financially to even break into a career, and they wonder why we don't anticipate being able to ever retire because we're paying mortgages on entry level jobs that barely pay us back and barely let us live our lives. Yeah, it's rough. And so the return on the investment for me is one of the main reasons that I really have this kind of um, you know struggle and almost hate for what our profession looks like in the experience right now. It's just not adding up. It's not adding up, and it's hard for people, especially parents and students, who have aspirations, to ask me about going to PT school and, oh, should I do it? My answer is yes, but I'm telling you, I always lead with, you need to understand what you're getting into, and you need to plan your, not just your school, but your career and particularly your life accordingly. Now, the return on the investment is, that's tough. And let me tell you my second reason why I have this love-hate relationship with physical therapy, why I struggle with this profession right now. The second one is kind of related to that, because we have these entry level salaries and positions that aren't, the math ain't mathing. We're not meeting that need. Um, and then there are low ceilings. When we talk about low ceilings, I mean there are only limited spaces for a physical therapist to really move up in the ranks, if you will. Consider that general practice for physical therapists is working for a company, a business, as a staff PT. You come in entry level. You may have coworkers with you. You may have a team that you're working with. But how many supervisors are there for a team? Right. One. So you may want to move up the ladder and move into other areas, or kind of climb the career ladder, if you will. And there's not many spaces up top, because once you have gotten used to being a clinician and you have grown in that space, how many jobs are there where you can actually grow to serve on a different level and maybe make more money besides just your average, what, maybe 1% raise if you get that? So for me, it just seems like you're either a staff PT, or you're a lead PT, or you're a manager. And at that point, like, where else is there to go, especially if you genuinely enjoy working with people, treating people. Now, of course, there's the route of owning your own business, and there are, gladly, there are so many people out there who can guide you and help you and support you in creating that space for yourself. But it's not usually what we think it looks like when it comes to reimbursement rates of it, because the reality is reimbursement rates have continually gone down. We have gotten paid less and less for our services, although our skills, our training, our understandings, and our validity and the efficacy of what we do has gone up. We have literally gotten better at healing people faster and more appropriately and more skilled, and yet our pay has gone down. So there's some pretty low ceilings when it comes to the general population of physical therapy practice, which is why a lot of us are really struggling with burnout. We are finding ourselves stuck. We're finding ourselves not fulfilled. We're not financially, we're not able to meet our obligations, and personally, so a lot of us have some regrets in really showing up in the field. Now, again, y'all know I'm not doom and gloom, but those are the realities of it. So number two is low ceilings. Remember, no, number one, the thing I hate about physical therapy is the return on the investment. It costs way too much and financially to get into the field, and we have all these skills and talents and tools, and then we don't get paid for it. Two, like I just talked about, is the low ceiling. There's a low ceiling for how we can move up or move on to things in our career, which makes a lot of people feel stuck once they get into physical therapy practice, and maybe they're excited about other things outside of just clinical practice as a staff PT. So number three, here's probably my biggest pet peeve. This is the number three thing that I hate about physical therapy practice. It is this pretend autonomy. And what I mean by that is, as a doctor of physical therapy, And even if you don't have a doctorate degree and you have experience and you have built your career and your skills, we have this idea that there is autonomy in our practice, that we get to decide what our patients and our plan of care looks like. We get to decide how to treat them, what's appropriate for them based on our knowledge, our skills, our training, and our personal spark and what we bring to the table. And the reality is, in many cases, especially if you're working for a business that owns several clinics, or that is very specified, or they consider themselves specialists in certain areas, they will pigeonhole you in what you can do for your patients, down to what you charge for. Because when we talk about how physical therapy practice is practiced here in America, for a lot of physical therapists, when you're working for a company, that company gets to decide who comes in the door. That company gets to say, hey, we don't want to take patients who have this insurance, or who have this diagnosis, or who need this type of help. We're not going to allow them in the door. So therefore, you as an employee don't get to see them or treat them. And then furthermore, when you do have patients who get to come through the door, the insurance company tells us how many times they're going to pay for them to come to practice, to therapy, and they're going to tell you what they'll pay for. Insurance companies will tell us, well, I'm not paying for this modality, I'm not paying for this treatment, I'm not paying for this hands-on style or fashion or model, or I'm only going to pay for 30 minutes of treatment. I'm only going to pay for this, that, or the other. And that completely negates the reality of autonomy. As a doctor of physical therapy, let me treat my patients based on what I know they need. And that is a struggle for me, um, as I've kind of worked through my 14-year career. And what happens to a lot of us is, again, we get burnt out. We start to feel like we are not making a personal difference. We're not able to fulfill our promises to our patients and fulfill that personal need to find some peace and joy and happiness in what we do. So that's my number three reason that I genuinely kind of have this hateful, and I don't like to use the word, but when we talk about a love hate relationship, it burns me up when people who are not who are not in the role I'm in right now telling me exactly what to do, or even worse, what not to do, because they're just not going to pay for it, or it doesn't align with the next person. And sometimes that means having systems or jobs or supervisors who say, hey, don't do that because maybe Sally doesn't know how to do that, and she's going to be treating that patient because I'm going to move you over here, or I can't keep you here in this space. I need to consolidate. And so don't do that treatment, because now that patient's going to look for it, if it's helpful, from somebody else, and they're not going to be able to get it. And I hate that, because that's this idea that although we have this pretend autonomy and we have these skills and these tools that we've learned to use, we can't use them because we have to protect the system. Okay, so I'm off that soapbox. I, as I said, I'm not all doom and gloom. I've been a physical therapist for 14 years, and if I'm being completely honest with you, I don't plan on stopping that personal, face-to-face practice with my patients. But I have to share with you the things that I love about physical therapy and why I've been able to conquer my own burnout, and how I'm able to show up as a physical therapy doctor and more in the space and places that allow me to show up as my best self, and therefore give my patients my best, and see them have the results that I know they deserve. So let me give you my top three things that I love about my physical therapy practice and experience. All right. So I'm gonna start by not crashing my car today. So listen, number one, the thing that I love about physical therapy is, gosh, we are active and supportive, and we are healing people in every corner of the world. Like, those of you who know me, Oklahoma is home for me. As I said, I'm a graduate of Langston University, and I have had the pleasure of practicing and enjoying physical therapy here in Oklahoma, down in Florida, living in Orlando for quite a few years, up to Boston in Massachusetts, even down to Georgia in the Atlanta and Marietta area. We can find a job, yes, practically anywhere. Like I love being able to really consider, you know what, it's time for me to move around and to be able to find spaces to treat people and see people and find some security is dope. Like no cap. I'm excited that almost anywhere in the world, let alone the country, I can find a space to perform and practice physical therapy within the system. And so I love it. And that's amazing because for those of us who appreciate having some flexibility to move around, it's dope. Number two. So the number two thing that I do love about physical therapy that I always share with people who consider, hey, should I get into the field, is you will almost never be bored because we get the opportunity to really spend some quality and consistent time with people. Like people first, not just patients, but people. And I love that we get the opportunity to do that because now we get to share in their joys and in their practice and their growth, right? Not just physically, but as a community leader and a guide for people to really grow. So for me, that is one of the best things about being a physical therapist is that I never get bored. I'm always able to find ways to serve people in this career, and every day is a whole different day because my I may have a patient who shows up, and hopefully what we've been doing has made them feel and move and live better. So now we get to do something completely different and seeing patients grow from some of the patients I've worked with in the hospital and in the nursing home to not being able to actually get up, but to be able to walk and even dance is phenomenal. So you could hardly ever get bored with therapy. And let's face it, some of these jobs they're gonna make sure you don't get bored because you're gonna be treating anywhere from 12 to 14 to 18, even 20 patients a day. So boredom, if that's an issue for you, then you may love physical therapy and really find your stride in being able to have that variability in what your everyday practice looks like. Um, Plus, there are so many areas in PT that you can find your niche or you can find your passion from pediatrics working with kids to geriatrics working with older adults, from surgeries and orthopedics to sports medicine, from working with NBA and NFL and hockey league teams to working with private athletes, gymnasts, anywhere there are people who are physically active and have a mission. You can find a physical therapist there. There are physical therapists who literally their practice and their focus is on working with Broadway, right, with Broadway performers, because dancers need support. There are therapists who focus specifically on workers' comp patients, who focus on neurological issues, who focus. I mean, it's crazy. So you'll never get bored with that opportunity to really reinvent yourself in your career if you're willing to get out there and learn and try something new. Personally, I've experienced that where I was specialized in the hospitals and in wound care and in nursing homes and working with patients who have had stroke or neurological issues. And I shifted gears for something brand new and started working in outpatient clinics where now I'm seeing patients who are teenagers and sometimes children and people who are athletes and all across the board. So you can always find your niche in physical therapy. And if you think you found it and you've outgrown it, you can move on to the next thing. So my number three reason that I really, really love my physical therapy experience, and this is something that for a lot of PTs, they don't quite get this early on. And if they did, their careers would be monumentally better. I need you guys to tap in. If you are a PT, an OT, a PTA, a CODA, you need to tag someone on this post, if for no other reason than what I'm about to say right now, because and if you are a new therapist and you're in your first couple of years, I need you to hear me right now. Your skills are transferable. There are things that you are going to learn as a physical therapist or even as an occupational therapist, a PTA and a CODA that are so valuable outside of just working with that one or two or three patients in that hour. There are communication skills. There are skills and tools that you know in how to motivate people, in how to understand people, in how to appreciate people, in how to help and serve people in ways that are outside of those billable units that you need to hone, you need to lean into, you need to explore, and you need to express. I have been I have been so blessed to have the opportunity to see that truth about my experience and about my knowledge and my training, so much so that I'm sitting here in front of you all right now. I'm on my way to a meeting. I treated a patient this morning. I've had some other meetings, and now I'm gonna go sit down. I'm gonna go sit down in a pizza shop, Eastside Pizza House to be exact, which is my favorite here in Oklahoma City. I'm gonna go sit down in a pizza house and have a meeting where I get to use and utilize those skills and tools to help an entrepreneur who has nothing to do with physical therapy. How dope is that? Right? And that's because I have leaned into understanding that my skills are not just to serve as a staff physical therapist or a manager, a physical therapist for that matter. There is so much space and need for us to really highlight what we bring to tables across the board in mental health, in community health and wellness, in decreasing the the chronic diseases that are in our community, getting to people, making a difference before they need to see us in the clinic is also our duty. So I challenge you to think outside the box, think outside of the ICD-10 codes, and to think outside of your billable units to realize and recognize spaces and places where you can make the most of your career and your excitement for helping people, especially because you paid so much for it. Going all the way back to those three reasons that I got this love hate relationship with therapy. So let's recap because like I said, I got a meeting to get to. The three reasons that I genuinely am frustrated with physical therapy practice, even though I'm not giving it up. One is the return on the investment. It costs way too much to get out of school and get paid what we get paid, and that's on us. That's on us to make the difference. That's on us to raise awareness, and that's on us to show the value of what we're doing. And if we're not getting that value, going somewhere else. Two, the low ceilings. If you feel like there is nowhere for you to go in this career, why are you sitting still? Find it. Find where you belong, find what serves you, and figure out ways to use your skills and your tools appropriately. Okay? Otherwise, you're going to get stuck in burnout. Then you're going to have to come see me because that's what I do also. I help clinicians and practically anybody to beat the burnout. Number three is that pretend autonomy. I so I found that when I am honoring what therapy looks like for me and what I know my skills and tools and my passion can do, then my patients get better quicker. So create or find spaces where you can show up as a physical therapist, but you can do it better on your terms. I am working concierge therapy now. I don't intend to spend very much time in the future in the clinical practice of a clinic because that just doesn't vibe with me. I know I can do amazing things in supporting my patients at their local gym or at their local dojo or in their house or maybe in their daughter's house because that's a space and a place where they need to make those bounds. Maybe I need to meet my patients at work. I'm clocking in with you because we're going to make sure that therapy gets you where and what you need out of it. So find practice that works best for you. For me, that means doing concierge therapy. I meet my patients at their wherever we need to meet. And so I've had a patient who I met at the gym earlier today, and when we finished up there, got some meetings in. I have a patient tonight who we're gonna meet. We're gonna meet actually at that person's house, and then we may even go over to the dojo. So having that autonomy is something that's important to me. So find it for yourself. And then that leads me to finishing up with the three things that I love about physical therapy. And that is you can find your space and your niche and your passion to work anywhere with anybody. Go out there and make sense. There are therapists who only work with ski enthusiasts. There are therapists who only work with circus performers and contortionists. You can find it. They're there. There are therapists that only work with people who have migraines, and that's their passion, is to help them find healing. So finding that space and realizing that as a physical therapist, I can work in any corner of the world. Oh, it's dope. It's amazing, and I love it. My second thing is you don't ever get bored for that reason. So if you are bored, there's this saying I used to share a lot, is if you're not bored, you're boring. You're not bored, you're boring. It's on you to create a spark, to create to create novelty and happiness and joy in your life and in those that you are taking the charge to treat and honor. My patients get to enjoy Tai Chi, they get to enjoy dance, they get to enjoy all kind of things that are outside of the usual physical therapy practice because I bring it to the table. And then lastly, your skills are transferable. I need you to understand, my PTs, my PTAs, my OTs, my CODAs, that what you have to offer is so much greater than just billable units. Learn yourself, learn your passion, learn your community, and I need you to get in where you fit in. Thank you all. I appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope that you learned something, you gained something. If we need to talk, reach out to me. You can find me at my website, wpw2020.com. You can reach out to me, send me a DM. Let's explore together. That is my passion and what I love to do. And that is one of the ways that as a physical therapy doctor, I bring that energy to everyone in my community, not just those who think or who have been told that they need some exercise from me. So I hope that the day is treating you all well. And I wish and pray for the best for you and yours and your community. Peace.